Welcome back. Today we are discussing the Toronto real estate market and the Toronto real estate update for August of 2021. And over the course of the next 7 days, we're going to do 4 similar videos to this covering 4 of the major Canadian markets. And then for you Halifax fans, we're going to hit you up the following week and give you what you've been asking for, which is an update on the Halifax real estate market. And we're going to go in depth. We're going to go back to the beginning of the year on that particular market and really dig into what's going on in that market, because it is one of the hottest real estate markets, although not one of the priciest real estate markets in the country. But for today's video, we're going to talk about the Toronto real estate market, and we are going to take a look and contrast the headlines reported in the news versus what the Toronto Real Estate Board is putting out, and then talk about what's really happening. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers, where one lucky subscriber is going to win $5,000 to put towards their savings, their investments, to pay down their mortgage, or to simply do with what they like. Maybe they'll use it for a down payment, who knows? But in order to win, you have to subscribe. So go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, and it's definitely worth it. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit, product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the Toronto real estate market. And this one is really interesting from a headline perspective, because what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the difference between how the news reports and how a real estate board reports. And I remember going back to my early years in real estate, going to the Calgary Real Estate Board forecast breakfasts and sitting there as an economist, as a trained economist, going, this is really interesting data and the future looks really bright for the Canadian real estate market. And not a year or two, and about an hour later, we see the news stories start to pop up online. And the picture that the CREB economist had painted was completely different than the picture that the Calgary news outlets had been reporting. And it was really interesting because what they talked about in that particular CREB forecast breakfast, they talked about the fact that real estate prices were increasing, but sales were down. But prices were still going up. And I thought, the headlines should probably be Calgary housing prices hit all-time high. And instead, what the Calgary real estate market, or what the Calgary news did, is they said sales slump in Calgary real estate market. And guess what that led to? That led to an actual sales slump, which led to lower prices and people losing faith in the Canadian or in the Calgary real estate market. And it kind of created a self-fulfilling prophecy just based on headlines. So I want to point this out today because this is really interesting. And this is potentially something that you could see happen in the Canadian real estate market. You could see news outlets like BNN Bloomberg, who I think does great reporting on the Canadian real estate market. You could see them essentially alter the course of the market just by their headlines. And if you take a look at their headline today, actually this was put out on August 4th, so it was a couple of days ago, Toronto housing euphoria fades as sales slump in July. Now this is a drastically different headline than what the Toronto Real Estate Board put out. Here's the Toronto Real Estate Board's headline. July numbers show strong demand continues for home ownership in the GTA. So the question is, what is really happening here? And first and foremost, I need you to understand that I'm not here to support or deny your narrative. People will see what they want to see. If you believe and are hoping that the market is going to crash, you're going to look at these numbers and go, the market's crashing. And if you believe and hope that the market's going to continue to go up, you are going to see that the market is going to continue to go up, and all the data here is going to support that narrative. The reality of it is we don't have any data that supports a major move in either direction. We have things that in theory could happen, but none of that has happened yet. So really all this is this is just data. And when we start to get into the numbers, and I've found it's always better to show rather than tell. So we're going to show you the graphs out of the Toronto Real Estate Board rather than the actual details and the written words that they put, because what you don't need is Nolan Mathias standing in front of you reading an article. So I'm going to show you the actual graphs here and kind of provide some color commentary on this, and hopefully you'll take from it what you will. But here's the data, here's the graphs. So the first graph I want to show you is the TREB MLS sales. So this is the number of sales that are happening. And if you look at this chart, then absolutely 100% you are seeing a graph that shows that sales are slumping, as BNN would have you believe. However, if you look at this chart, you would also see from the headline from the Toronto Real Estate Board that demand is still high, you would also be able to infer that. Because if you look at 2021 compared to 2019, leave out 2020 because it was a little bit of an outlier year. This was when all the sales started to happen after they hadn't happened for a couple months. But if you look at 2021 compared to 2019 or 2018, demand is still at an all-time high for July. So this graph can paint either picture. The market's going to crash or the market's going to go up. It doesn't matter which one you want it to paint. You can paint that picture with it. But what I find interesting is the trend line, right? We see really big numbers in March, the craziness. We see things slowing down in April. We see May, which was, by the way, the highest price that the Toronto Real Estate Board ever hit, or the Toronto Real Estate area ever hit. And then we just start to see this demand come down and come down. And what that means is when you see the numbers hit here, we're starting to see a normalized market, which means less crazy bidding wars. It means less crazy prices. Yes, the prices are higher than they were last year, but so are also the borrowing costs. And over the next 25 years, people who are buying now versus people who bought last year versus people who bought in 2019 are probably in the long run going to pay a pretty similar amount for their house when you look at it from a long-term perspective, not a short-term perspective. And then if we start going and we start looking at the TREB housing market chart for the monthly new listings, you can see listings are also down. So demand's down, but listings are down. And what that does is it creates stability in the pricing. So, the doomsdayers who are saying prices are going to go down, probably not accurate. The people who say prices are going to continue to go up, probably not accurate. Right now, what the data is telling us is that things are leveling off. And what that means is until something happens like major job losses or major hiring sprees, the market's probably going to stay pretty close to what it's at. It's found its equilibrium. And then if we move into the sales to new listing ratio, you see that this has been fairly flat. We're starting to see more sales compared to new listings, which that can have a little bit of an upward pressure on prices. But for the most part, this is a pretty stable graph. It's not like December of last year, where this is where things started to get crazy. This is where the herd mentality started to kick in, was back in December. That's why you saw the big sales numbers in January, February, March, and April. And then this is the one that I find really interesting, because if you look at the price trends, what we saw is going back to 2020. So I'm looking at the blue line here. We saw housing prices come down a little bit during the beginning of the pandemic, and then they consistently crept up. And then moving into the orange lines, which is 2021, crept up, and hit an all-time high in May. This is where they got to just over $1.1 million. And now what we're seeing is things leveling off. And I think you can expect that the average real estate price for the Toronto real estate area, if things remain equal, so if there isn't major job losses, if there isn't major issues in the economy, are probably going to stay pretty much where they are at for the next few years. Now, if interest rates go up a little bit, which they might not, then we may see housing prices come down a little bit. If something else changes in the economy, we could see prices go up. Who knows? But as of right now, the data is telling us that we should see a pretty consistent price graph going into the fall. And if you take, and this is the last graph I'm going to show you here, if you take a look at MLS sales with the timeline here, what we're seeing right now is we saw this huge spike at the beginning of the year. And what we're seeing is things, although still trending up, are starting to come back a little bit to normalcy with respect to the number of sales. So from a high level overview perspective, this is all good news for the Toronto real estate market. It means things are leveling out. It means things are somewhat going back to normal. It means that, at the end of the day, the market is finding its new normal. And the one thing that I will point out from the actual press release, the written part of it that you can go and look at on the Toronto Real Estate Board's website, is that they are finding that first-time homebuyers are still very, very active, but they're no longer buying big mansions and houses in the suburbs. They're getting back into that condo market downtown because those are the ones that are affordable. That's where the action is. Things are going back to normal. And what we've seen in the Toronto real estate market is the condo market come back to normal and come back to life, which is really, really, really great for the health of the overall real estate market. So, really interesting stuff happening there. And, a very interesting time for the Toronto real estate market, hitting new highs, hitting new records, becoming in a lot of cases unaffordable, but in a lot of cases also becoming a destination city. And when borders open back up, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. I don't suspect we're going to see a lot of foreign outside buyers coming into Toronto and jacking up the prices, because quite frankly, the affordability there is going to be difficult to approach. But who knows what we'll see in the long run when things start to open back up. Now, before I let you go here, one last thing. We have a first-time homebuyers boot camp that we're going to leave open until August 16th. August 16th, the day that we release the Halifax video, will be the last day until the fall that you'll be able to sign up for that. So if you're getting into the market and you want to have access to that course, then you need to sign up before August 16th. It is priced super low. It teaches you everything from start to finish about the mortgage approval process, how to select a realtor, how to write an offer, things like purchase plus improvements. You will be one of the most informed buyers in Canada once you take that course. It is priced, like I said, extremely low. There's a link in the description below, and it is shutting down August 16th until the fall. You won't be able to access to it. So if you're looking to get into the real estate market and you want to be part of that homebuyers boot camp, go ahead, click that link, sign up. Love to join you on that journey. And then in the fall, we'll open it up again. I'm not sure when. I'm not sure what the price point will be. It will be higher than what it is today, but I just want to give you full warning that the prices and the ability to sign up for that course are going away August 16th in essentially 10 days. So link in the description below. Sincerely hope you'll join us on that course. If you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Don't forget about a race to 25,000 subscribers. Yes, we're getting so close to 25,000 subscribers. We're almost there. And the big thing is the new subscriber trend is going up, which I think is really, really cool. That means we're doing something right. So you have to subscribe to win. Sincerely, I hope that you, yes you, because you waited till the end of the video, I hope you're the winner. And if not, there'll be more contests. They'll get better, they'll get bigger, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.